So, welcome, Barbara, to my show, One for the Road. It's so lovely to see you. The last time I saw you was at the Be Sober event up north somewhere, Clitheroe, was it?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and we've been talking about recording this for a long time, and here we are. So, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Dave, and thank you for having me.
It's a real
Good to be
pleasure.
here.
It's a pleasure. And what I love about this interview is that although I know you, I don't know that much about your story.
Mm.
Um, and having taken a social media break for now, I haven't even been able to catch up with it behind the scenes sneakily to get some bullet points. But I do know that you've recently celebrated 3 years of sobriety. So well done. That's fantastic. How do you feel?
Oh, thanks, Dave. Yeah, no, I'm still amazed that I've actually done it, to be honest with you, but I feel great, thank you. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Well, as you're an avid fan of my podcast, you know how it works, and we wind it all the way back.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable with it, let's start when you were a little wee one, where you were
Yeah,
born, what life
from the
was like then.
beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Oh, I think it's interesting. The podcast I've been on before, I hadn't really gone through any of this. So it's yeah, interesting for me to actually speak it. So yeah, I was born in Cambridge and I'm one of five girls. I'm the fourth one. And I always find that interesting that out of the five of us, I've got or have this problem and they hadn't. But anyway, yeah, one of five girls. Mum and dad, both hardworking, Jamaican, came over here, I think I don't even really know too much when they came over, late 60s, mid 60s, because my sister was born, we were all born here in Cambridge. Um, yeah, so yeah, hardworking. Dad was a bus driver. Mum was an auxiliary nurse. She used to work nights, raising us five. I was going to say on Coleridge Road, nobody would know what that is, but in Cambridge, it's like um, kind of almost central to Cambridge, really. So we were quite in the centre of Cambridge. We all went to the same school. Most of the black people in Cambridge at that time we were related to. So we used to have uncles, aunties, or people that we used to call uncle and auntie come round for Christmas, and they'd have birthday parties. I'm talking when I was little, 4, 5. I can remember them all coming around and Christmases, having drinks. My mum used to collect drinks underneath the stairs for Christmas. Week on week, collecting, little bits of drink. My mum never used to drink. Only at Christmas she'd have a sherry brandy or a baby sham. I don't remember my mum ever being drunk. And actually, I don't even remember my dad being drunk. My dad used to drink, but I don't remember him being drunk. We did have an uncle, and I didn't know at the time that he was drunk, but now looking back, and my cousins have said he was an alcoholic, but he was like a bit younger, bit trendier than my mum and dad, and he used to go out and get in a little bit of trouble, and he was like the drunk uncle, if you like. But as being of the younger of the five of us, I didn't really know much of all that was going on. Um, but yeah, like I say, my dad used to drink, but they used to play dominoes all the time. It was loving. It was nothing. Alcohol didn't affect my life as a child in a bad way.
mm,
I don't see. I mean, I can remember like being the fourth one. So my sisters used to go out and come back and have a good time. I don't remember them ever being drunk, but they tell me afterwards that they say they were drunk when they used to come home. But I couldn't wait to go out. I could not wait when they used to say, going to all these different places. And, it was more about, I think for them, when they look back, it was more about going out, being with their friends, dancing. It was all about dancing for them. Yeah, they did drink, but I didn't think that, to me, it didn't seem like it was a focus. Um, yeah, so yeah, I could not wait to go out.
how old
Um,
was you when you first had a drink?
I think my first time I was drunk, actually paralytic drunk, blackout, and could not remember. My dad had to come and pick me up. Taxi wouldn't take me. I was 14. And I didn't really drink up until that point. I don't remember having, I don't know, having a sip of wine or anything like that growing up. I don't remember doing that, or even, with my sisters just saying, "Oh, have a glass." I don't know. I don't remember anything like that. But I do remember. Well, I don't remember actually being drunk, but I know that this was a story, a thing that happened to me. I was 14, drunk, and trying to get into the in crowd. That's what that was about.
So
That's
was
what
it
that was about.
finding a place to fit amongst it all? Do you think that was to do with being the fourth sister?
Um, not really, because we're all so different in, like, I wasn't trying to get in with their friends, and they didn't do anything like this. So I don't know. And my fifth one, the little one, she didn't do anything like this. It's just maybe just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just me that I mean, for my dad to, I mean, not saying, yeah, he was quite strict, and having to come out and do that. And it,
Pick you
like
up when you was drunk.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
threw up as well in the
Mm.
street, was quite, yeah, shameful, really,
Do
I
you
think.
remember how he reacted after, or was it all a blur?
It was a blur. I don't really remember. I know I wasn't allowed to go out for a long time afterwards.
Yeah. Grounded.
Yeah, yeah, I was grounded. Who's, yeah, angry, and yeah, like I say, we knew every black person in Cambridge, and not just black people. I mean, we knew Dad was a bus driver. He knew everybody,
Mm.
and yeah, it was a bit more of an embarrassment thing rather than you know, why are you going out and getting drunk at 14? Ask, what's your reasoning for doing that, rather than,
Yeah.
you know,
So you were grounded. So after that, how
yeah.
long was it until you had your next drink? Do you remember?
No, I don't. I've often, I don't think I was drunk. Because with in when I was 14 in what 1985, we could go into pubs. Pubs were our like youth clubs. We'd go to the
Yeah.
youth club
Yeah.
one in the week, and at the weekend we go to the pub.
No
You know,
ID.
no ID. We'd just go to the pub. We'd be drinking. Sometimes, I mean, I'd go on my bike to the pub,
Mm.
be home by 10, 11 o'clock before the
Mm.
pub shut. There was a disco. I remember it was most Fridays there was a disco at a pub. It was called the Station. And me and my friends just used to go there, sit there, sometimes have a Coke or what was it, Malibu and Coke. But we would cycle home. We wouldn't be drunk. It wouldn't
Mm.
be, yeah, we never did the sitting in the park and drinking cider things. We just used to go to the pub. Yeah, with no ID.
Yeah. So it's more like a social thing then.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you
yeah,
could get with your friends and rather than just go and get drunk.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, we didn't do the and I did start going to clubs quite early. We didn't used to have to give ID.
No, I mean, I know in my day I didn't, but I'm literally about 600 years older than you. But I used to go to a club in Croydon, called Sinatra's, and we used to get paranoid that we wouldn't get let in because it was the main night out because it was a set fee and you got all your drinks free plus a horrible buffet. You know, when it's like everyone's digging into it. And
Yeah,
it was something like 12 quid or something. And it was just a free bar all night. And that was always the in place for us to go, you know. And I was
yeah,
still in my teens then.
yeah,
And I've got turned away once because my mate turned up. He'd come all the way from miles away wearing jeans. And I said, mate, you're not going to get in. Yeah, it'd be all right. And we went to the pub, queued up. Bouncer said, you ain't coming in like that, mate. And I was like, oh my God. You know, I was devastated because I thought 12 quid then for a whole night out till 3 in the
yeah.
morning or whatnot. It's funny, isn't it, when you go back and you remember, and there's probably people listening to this that remember Sinatra's, but yeah, a horrible fly infested buffet that midnight you'd be going through the sweet corn bloody coleslaw or whatever it was, horrible.
You
But
just remind me, Dave, of a night we used to go to. It was ladies' night where you didn't have to pay to get in.
yeah,
And so we'd go to ladies' night on, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, and the same club would go to under 18s. So we go to over 18s and under 18s and still get in. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I
Yeah.
know. So, okay, so you went through your teens and whatever. So what happened after that? What was your drinking like? Did it get out of control when you were younger, or was it quite
No, not really. Well, I had my daughter when I was 17. So I had, yeah, it wasn't really, like people talk about yummy, not yummy mummies. Well, not yummy mummy. Well, I was a yummy mummy, but what they, drinking wine, that are drinking wine. So I didn't have that. It wasn't a thing for me when I was 17, what, 90, I can't remember the year. 1989, I had her.
yeah,
So yeah, drinking wasn't a thing for me. I started raving in the 90s. So alcohol was not my drug of choice.
right,
Yeah. So I used to go raving and then clubbing. And it was I wasn't drinking. I used to smoke
ganja,
the herb. Yeah.
yeah,
I did that probably in a I hope my daughter's not listening to this. In the way people now might drink alcohol in their teens, I was probably smoking weed like
yeah,
that. Yeah. Yeah. And then then I started raving, and it wasn't so much about smoking weed. I'd kind of, I don't know, start the mind bending substances that
yeah,
get you thinking and talking about different things. And
yeah.
um yeah, I went back to college, but I was still raving at the weekends. So I was doing yeah, raving, but I wasn't really drinking. I didn't really drink. When I say drinking, I mean I probably had an odd beer here and there, but I wasn't drinking um what glasses of wine. I rarely went out for dinner. It was really when I hit my 30s.
Right. And is that, do you think, because your daughter grew up and because 17's young, isn't it?
17 is really young. I was just talking to someone at the weekend about that. I forget how.
So in your 30s, she would have been like in her teens, wouldn't she?
Yeah,
Sort of doing her own thing,
yeah,
possibly. So you had a rebirth in your 30s, didn't you? Of,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
probably was that I had her, and so I didn't do those. I had my
Yeah.
own flat at 17. I could,
Yeah.
I could have drank in the
You
flat
had,
and
you
not
had to
with
grow
all that.
up really, really young, didn't you? And be
Yeah,
responsible for your
yeah.
daughter and that. And that might have changed normal path because for me, I started drinking at 14. I did the typical work hard, play hard drinking, like even I remember I used to play football Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays, but Sundays was a completely different level of football to Saturdays. And I realised because we had time to recover from the night out before on a
Mm,
Saturday, where on a Sunday, we might have got home at 2 in the morning and be kicking off at 9 in the morning, still drunk. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
So the
yeah,
tackles were going all over the place.
yeah.
But, for you, it seems that you were a young mum not drinking because you had your responsibilities, the occasional rave out of your drug of choice,
Mm,
and we can leave it there. Um, and then in your 30s, things changed because maybe your daughter grew up and you had a bit more leeway, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I can't. I don't. I think I was going to say I can't really pinpoint when that really happened, but I think it was slowing down in the whole raving thing, and then going out for dinner, and the whole Ladette thing as well.
Mm.
That was at the same time. But going out for dinner, drinking wine. I like wine. And then having wine at home, watching Sex and the City. We used to have people over, and used to have Sex and the City parties essentially on whatever night it came out on every Wednesday night. So started drinking on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, that ladette culture has got a lot to answer for, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Like
really
the
has.
making it feel acceptable, the
Yeah.
Kate Moss, Zoe Ball era, and the Sex in the City was a big thing where drinking wine was just normal, wasn't it? Normalized it massively. So what were
Yeah.
your Sex in the City parties like then? Tell me
Yeah.
about them.
Well, they'd all would come round before Sex and the City started. I think it used to be on at 9 or 10 o'clock. Everyone would bring a bottle of, I don't know, Vino Collapso, whatever the drink of choice was, and last one standing, all get taxis home. We just all get pissed.
Yeah, watching it.
Absolutely parallel watching it, yeah.
Yeah. And brag about it in the morning.
Yeah, and brag about it in the morning. Yeah, I do remember going over to just remind me another thing actually. When I went over to someone else's house to watch it, and I remember waking up in the morning at home with my car outside.
Oh,
Yeah.
how was that for you
Yeah.
when
Oh
you
my God.
realised
Yeah,
that?
that was just horrific. Absolutely. I felt so, you know, I never drink and drive. I never drink and drive, but I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
There's certain.
that
Mm,
whole oh, I'll be all right.
mm,
We never think about the consequences,
mm,
like of what we could do,
mm.
and I rarely did it, but I did do it, and I'm ashamed of it, even talking now about it.
Yeah.
I remember driving up to, I used to go to this boozer in Hackbridge called the Skinner's Arms, and I had a big full Granada 3 litre thing when I was about 8. I don't know how I afforded it. I still don't know how. But honestly, it was like a bronze colour full Granada. And I drove all the way to Soho to walk around when I was about 18. Like I didn't even, in those days, you didn't even have sat navs or anything, did you?
No.
Just like a head for tooting and keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, those kind of things are part of build up my shame and regret from the past, but it's done now, and
Yeah.
nothing did happen, thank God.
Yeah.
But
Thank
it's
God.
when you wake up and realize you've done that, it's scary, isn't it? It really
S-
makes you
So scary.
wonder what your thought process was at the time when you picked those keys up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even remember. I did not realize that the car was going to be in the drive.
Mm,
I did not know. And it was not parked straight. It was on the side, and there was the tire was damaged.
mm,
So I must have hit a curb or
mm,
something.
mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of those things that yeah, you kind of bury those moments.
And so you went from raving
Mm,
to being sophisticated, drinking wine in a pub
yeah.
or out for a meal in a restaurant, and then you wake up and realize you've driven home. So the fall off the cliffs quite quickly, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But it keeps going, Dave. I mean, that was quite, I mean, I don't know, I might have been 33, 34 then. I
Yeah,
continued drinking till I was 49.
yeah.
It doesn't stop.
So what? Well, it's accumulative, isn't it? And
Yeah.
because we're in so much denial. Although that was horrific, realizing you'd driven home.
Mm,
The next night you're still popping the wine open, aren't you? And you're thinking, oh well, one won't harm and that. And the denial that we go on to think about is, I mean, when I think about the amount of times that I've said, all right, that's it, I'm done,
mm,
must go into the thousands,
yeah.
because I've woken up somewhere or on the floor, or I've woke up on my stairs face down before with the front
Yeah.
door open, where I must have come in. I lived in an old cottage and it went straight up the stairs. And I think I come in and somehow went with the door opening, fell on the flipping stairs and just went asleep. That kind of thing. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've done done and said loads of things that, like you say, I've promised myself that, right, I'm not going to do that again. I won't get so pissed, or I won't drink again.
Mm,
I won't drink that much.
mm.
Just never kind of,
So how did it
don't know.
manifest then? Like in your, so say your early 30s and that, and you're out with your friends and it's the Ladette culture. How did it develop on after that? Was it just the same throughout your 30s, or did you start drinking at home more?
Yeah, I started drinking at home more. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I did start drinking at home more. Like the Wednesdays, like I mentioned, the Sex and the City nights. even when I did start drinking at home more, started going out more. I was married at the time to my first husband, and I used to just go out on my own.
Mm.
Well, not my own, with friends, not with him. I'd go out,
Yeah.
you know. He was a little bit older than me, so I felt like I was like you said just a moment ago. I just almost had this rejuvenation, if you like. I just wanted to be
Yeah.
young, go out and do things. So it's just going out, and I probably had my 17-year-old head on at 34.
Well, yeah. That's what happens a lot, isn't it? When you
Mm,
get lumped with that responsibility, and then they've kind of grown up and they're doing their own thing. You relive your
yeah.
youth again, don't you? But it interests me how the social side then merges into the drinking indoors, because that's what happened to me. And then I
Mm,
realized I wasn't being judged and watched. And the home pouring is different, isn't it? You can pour a large glass because, you keep going up to a bar saying, "Oh, I'll have the really large glass of wine, please," and you keep going up and up and up. You think, "Oh, they're going to be judging me," but at home, there's no judgment. You just hide the
yeah.
bottle, don't you? So,
Yeah.
that's when I think it becomes a problem more when you start to spend more nights in. Then
Mm,
you're not socializing, are you? You're more
no.
like using it as a coping mechanism, aren't you?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And when I think like when me and my husband split up, I did go and live. I was living on my own. I bought a house on my own. And on my way home from work, I go to the shop and just this sounds just so. I'd go to the shop and buy 2 bottles of wine for £6.
mm.
£6.
Well, I used to buy them for a fiver out of Londis, and
Yeah.
I even one was corked, and I still drank the
Still
bloody stuff.
drink it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
vile. It was absolutely like boot polish.
Yeah.
It was all about not. It was about quantity rather than quality all day long. I
Yeah.
just wanted to blot out. So 2 bowls of £6, and you was living on your own then,
Yeah.
or was your daughter not with you, or was she growing up by?
No, she wasn't. She stayed at my husband's ex's at the time. Yeah, our relationship was fractured. Yeah, it became fractured then, for a little while. And yeah, I was just off. I was just, yeah. I mean, alcohol didn't help the situation, what I was in,
Mm,
then. So yeah, like I was living on my own. I had 2 relationships within a space of up to meeting my current husband. Not very nice relationships. Um, yeah, it didn't help my self-worth,
mm,
those relationships, as well as drinking all the time, you know.
mm.
Um, yeah. Most of the time I was on my own, but I did have those 2 relationships in the space of, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Thing is, when you're drinking like that, you make bad decisions, don't you?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and you
100%.
you go into things without really thinking about it, and you know it. It's just everything is a downward spiral, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, was there a point then that you started to question your drinking? Was that, did you ever think, what am I doing? Who have I become? Or was you still going through that kind
At
of
that point, I
denial?
was still going through it. I didn't feel like, yeah, I never questioned it. I never questioned it up and really that not then, not while I was still, because I was in Cambridge then still. Um, yeah, I mean, I've questioned it when like the incident with the car happened. I questioned it when fell over and smashed my teeth. I questioned it when, I make these silly stupid decisions and say stupid things or do stupid things. Like you say, that just the decisions, but I never, maybe I didn't put the two and two together to make those decisions
Well,
were
mate, it sounds
coming
to
out
me
of
like
alcohol.
they were the rock bottoms that made you really think about it, and everything else you just carried on with,
Mm.
you
Yeah, I
know?
call them, yeah, my pebble bottoms. I had lots of those.
Yeah, pebble bombs. So, you know, these are the little pinnacle seeds that we plant in our head, I think. And then
Mm,
we easily forget them. We go,
mm,
oh, it'd be all right.
mm,
I had a few as well. And it was like I don't think I ever considered even stopping. I just thought it was par for the course kind of thing. It was like, well, this is what life's like,
Yeah.
these
Same here.
huge
I never
benders
thought.
and, you know, um, I think it was only when it started to affect my mental health that I started to question it, when my anxiety was bad quite a lot and I was losing money by not going on estimates and doing jobs and that. And it started to affect me more and more the more I got into it.
Mm.
Um, is that what happened to you? Did it like just ramp? Because to me, it's so accumulative, it just ramps up, doesn't it? Your tolerance goes up and the drinking becomes more frequent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, I don't, when you talk about mental health, I don't think, personally, at the time, I don't feel like my mental health was suffering until I stopped. Then I realized, looking back, I wasn't quite, I wasn't happy. Not all the time, don't get me wrong. It wasn't all the time that I felt anxious or, low self-worth. It wasn't all the time. I've got my sisters and my mum, well, my dad's passed away now, but I've got lots of family around me, my daughter. So there was all this happiness and joy. I've got two grandchildren now, so and but it's really um, oh, and my husband now, Alan. He's been pivotal in me realizing that I don't need alcohol to be me.
Mm, good old Alan, eh?
Yeah, yeah. He's when I talk about the, not my husband, because I kind of left him, and then everything escalated after that. But then the two men or people, that those um that period of my life with before I met Alan wasn't. I didn't have somebody in my life to show me or help me,
Mm,
to
mm,
not even help me, just notice that the alcohol was. I
mm.
mean, when me and I'm probably not making much sense, but when me and Alan met, we met when we were drinking. I was drinking, we were both drinking, but I think because I was happier with him as a not drinking, it wasn't as drinky.
Mm.
But then it was very out, at the weekends it was, you know, we drink a lot. It was more of a weekend thing. I think with the whole lockdown thing, that escalated my drinking. Um,
I think it escalated a lot of
a
people's
lot of
drinking.
drinking, yeah.
Because you know what? At the time of this recording now, next week will be 4 years, right? And
But
and
oh,
since lockdown.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But I'm looking out the window now and the sky is black and it looks like it's going to chuck it down, right? Back then, it was hot, wasn't it? People were
Yeah,
out in the garden sunbathing,
yeah.
and
They
there was
were.
that big house party app that people were using, and everyone was sharing pictures of sunbathing and, glasses of wine lunchtime. And there was that pretty much feeling of, oh, we've got this huge, like, time off period of,
Mm,
although everyone was really panicking, I think because there was that holiday vibe there and people sharing pictures of sunbathing and that, it kind of exacerbated the drinking throughout the day.
mm.
Luckily, I wasn't drinking, and my biggest panic there would have been, if I was, how the hell would I have got the amount I needed in?
Yeah,
Because, like, do you remember back then you had to queue up in single file at like Sainsbury's and that?
yeah,
You weren't even allowed to be with your partner or anything. You would have to be on
yeah,
your own. And for me, it would have been like, God, how would I ever do it? But luckily I didn't. But I think, lockdown is still having a knock-on effect now with people struggling with drinking, even 4 years later, because it
yeah,
doesn't take long to get into the habit and addicted to bloody stuff, does it?
yeah. No,
So three
luck.
years ago,
Mm,
so you were still drinking in lockdown, wasn't you?
yeah, I stopped towards the end of the last one, the
Mm,
last lockdown. Um, yeah, so we. there was that I think Boris announced that we can't go to the shops unless it's for essential items.
Mm,
Well, we went straight to the local shop and stocked up on loads of booze, and yeah, just continue. I mean, I was working through that period though, but I was drinking. I think you see yourself, not go doing other things, are you? You're just at home. So I saw myself wanting to drink every night. If I wasn't drinking,
mm,
I would want to drink, but I would more than likely be drinking.
yeah. How much was you drinking?
Yeah, definitely but if I started, I would start on 2 bottles of wine.
Mm,
Or I'd start on one and then go to the shop, which is just round the corner. And anyone who knows me would know that I'm quite safety conscious. And if it was dark, or when it was dark and the shop's just about to close at 10 o'clock, I'd put my coat on, put my flip flops on, and walk round the corner in the dark, get another bottle of wine or two, come home, and not even know that I'd done it the next day.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah. So two and a half, 3 bottles of wine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd think, oh, I used to drink Carver because it was less volume of alcohol, but still the same amount of quantity, if not more. Um, Start on gin and tonic. Oh, yeah, just all these silly things that you make these,
Well,
caveats for
you make
yourself.
all these rules, don't you?
Yeah,
Like what you said about the carver, less percentage in that. It's
yeah.
honestly, the percentage game that I used to play with ciders and stuff like that. I used to get the ump because Diamond White went down to 7.5 from 8.2, and it's like, why? And
Yeah.
then Sainsbury's started selling boxes of wine where it was 3 litres, which was 4 bottles. It went down to 2.25, which is three. And it's like, what? I
Yeah,
mean, but I go through a box in the evening and feel like cheated by that. I haven't got that extra bottle in the,
yeah.
which would have been 4 bottles. It's ludicrous.
I know. I picked
But
up a bottle of wine once and it said, I don't know if I think it was 9%. I was like, what is this?
yeah,
What
like
is
Luther
this?
milk or something,
Yeah,
something dodgy,
9%.
hock.
Yeah. What the hell is this?
So come on then. It got
Yeah.
to a point that you realised that there was a bit of a problem going on. Did you try and not succeed, or how did it work for you?
Yeah, I've tried pretty much every Monday and not succeed, but I did a sober October, but I did it in November. That's the rebellious side of me, Dave. So I
Right.
had to do it in a different month and I did it for charity. Um, and doing it for charity made me stick to it or helped me to stick to it.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a sober community out there. I didn't do anything. It was all in willpower. And then I actually went over the 4 weeks. I think I got to about 7 or 8 weeks. No, I think it was 6 or 7. And we went to Manchester for dinner and I did order a glass of wine, but it sat there for ages. It sat there for ages and then I drank it. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up in the hotel room next morning with my shoes on. So it wasn't, yeah.
God.
And then I carried on drinking again. But I think I did have a taste of that being sober. It wasn't, I enjoyed it, but I didn't have all those tools that what I now know that
Mm,
I have to
mm.
remain sober. And I didn't think to myself, oh, I'm not drinking again either. I didn't think I wanted to stop. Um, I would try to do a dry January, but that was a 10-day stint. Started on the 4th of January because there was alcohol left over from Christmas and New Year. And then it was someone's birthday and drank on the 10th.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
S-
Um
So where did Alan come into this then? Like you say he was pinnacle to this. Did he stop before you?
no, he still drinks. He
Ah,
still drinks. Oh well, when I say he still drank from when I stopped, but he hasn't had a drink this year.
right.
Yeah. So but he's one of those drinkers that well, I was always really fast. I know didn't they call you Glugsy? your
Yeah.
nickname. Yeah. So I would probably Glugette.
Glugette.
Yeah, Glugette. Yeah, because I would drink really fast as well.
Yeah.
And everyone would say it to me, but I don't know. I
Chuck it down
just
quick.
chuck it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a bottle of wine for him. He'd have a glass out of it, or two
Put
small ones,
the
not big
stopper in
ones.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'd be able to have a couple of nights out of it. But where did Alan come into it? So I've been with Alan. It's our wedding anniversary actually on this week. 12, 13 years ago. So just I was 40 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40 something. Sorry, what was your question?
Well, it weren't. Tell me your whole history of your relationship with Alan. It
Yeah.
was like, where did Alan come into it with regards to you stopping drinking? Because you said he was quite pinnacle.
Yeah. I think I don't know, he just gives me confidence.
Right.
He's really good at yeah, you
Boosting you
can
up.
do that. You
Yeah.
can do that. You can do this. Or um
But did you tell him that you were really struggling with it, or did he see it in you?
yeah, well, the day before I gave up drinking, he it was in lockdown and I started drinking at 11 in the morning. It was a Sunday. And he started drinking with me, but pacing himself, not at 11. I think he always waited till it was after 12 o'clock. So it was after 12 o'clock. I think we were watching football, or he was watching football. I was on the phone to my sisters talking, shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember him hiding alcohol from me. That's him being pinnacle. I mean, if he wasn't doing that, I could have just carried on drinking the whole time. But for him to do that, for me, I felt like, well, embarrassed firstly, but he must really care
Mm.
and know that, I just have to stop doing what I'm doing. But before that happened, Dave, I was listening to podcasts, so I knew that I needed to stop.
Mm. So you was getting curious about it.
Yeah.
Was that when you sort of acknowledging that he was hiding it? Did you feel a level of like embarrassment or shame, or was that enough for you to then think, God, I can't carry on like this?
Yeah, I was embarrassed. It was embarrassing.
Embarrassed, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
really embarrassing.
And is that when you stopped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped.
Wow. And how did you do it?
Well, like I mentioned, I was listening to a podcast before I actually stopped. And I was listening to an American lady. And then I thought there must be an English version of this somewhere. And that's when I found Be Sober, Alex and Lisa.
Mm.
And so I started to listen to them. And I know you know Alex and Lisa. They're just fun and vibrant and funny. You can still have a laugh. And that's I want to still have a laugh and be
Mm.
sober.
Mm.
And I'm funny. Not long after, I think it was 4 months sober, and we were allowed to have 6 people around someone's house. And it was the year I was that year I was me and my friends were 50. So we went around one of my friends, and she was 50, and one of them said, "Oh, you're the same. You don't seem any different."
Mm.
Apart from the whole being Larry and becoming annoying, that first bit of me maybe being a couple of drinks in, that's probably the level that I'm at most of the time.
Yeah. But we have this perception, don't we? I had it when I was drinking that sober people are boring.
Mm,
Like, so I went to an event and I didn't want to go in, but I did go in. And when I walked out at the end, I literally said to myself, "Oh my God, these people are amazing. They're normal people.
mm,
They're doing normal jobs, and they're the kind of people I would drink with in a pub, but they decided not to drink. And it gave me such an elevation
mm.
for me to want to carry on, because this perception I had, like there was a room full of librarians all shuffling paper about. Not that there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with librarians, but do you know what I mean? Like I sort of this narrative that gets created that, oh, you're bored, don't be boring.
Yeah, it's not
But
cool, is it? It's not cool to be sober.
well, that's the narrative of it. But
Yeah, that's the
actually,
narrative.
I mean, in the 5 years that I've been sober, I've met some incredible people, you know, like some really amazing people, and I continue to as well. You
Yeah,
know, like
same.
I'm recording this podcast, I talk to people all over the world, and if it wasn't for my sobriety, I wouldn't even know they were or even want to talk to them. But when I do, I realise actually their stories are really incredible and how
Mm,
they've turned their lives around to do what they're doing now. Career changes, all sorts of things that have happened in their lives. You know, the way it changes the dynamics of a family.
yeah.
Um, you know, I helped someone years ago, and they sent me a picture. The wife sent me a picture a year later of his little girl, and she had her hand on his shoulder as he was planting something in the flower bed, and she had a little a kiddie's watering can, and she said, "You have no idea how much this means to me." But
Oh,
before that,
yeah,
she wouldn't go near him because he smelt booze and was angry, and
yeah,
and you hear these stories, and they're so empowering, and we
yeah,
are busting the myth of sober is boring, aren't we?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not bored in one. I'm not bored at all, at all. And the people that I've met as well, Dave. I thank alcohol for all the people that I've met
Yeah,
since being sober because I
yeah,
wouldn't have met them otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been great.
How did things change for you immediately? Because people, you said about the dry January and you got to the 10th of Jan. I always say, like, if you can try, do the month first, right, and
Mm,
explore that. But if you can try to get to 3 months, that's when you find your sleep gets better, your anxiety is really on top of your game, really. Like for me, that was the first thing that went, my anxiety.
mm,
All right, you get life's problems and everything, but you learn how to manage them properly, don't you?
yeah, definitely.
What did you notice in the beginning the
I think,
most?
yeah, the sleep. My sleep was good straight. I know you said after 3 months, but mine definitely improved straight away. I would say.
Mm,
I would say because I was going to bed early, for starters. Because before when I was drinking, I would not go to bed until all the booze was gone. So I wasn't going to bed or passing out. So yeah, definitely sleep. Um, my relationship with my daughter um, continued to get better. I mean, it was better before I stopped drinking, but continued to be so much better. I mean, I didn't really get drunk in front of her, but she knew that I did get drunk, and if I did drink, I would, really not drink so much in front of her. But it's now that I don't drink, yeah, we're definitely, closer. A lot closer, yeah,
yeah,
definitely close there. And I mentioned I've got two grandsons. I'm not wanting their bedtime to be rushed,
yeah.
to go into. But personally, my heart rate went down on my Fitbit when within months. I think it used to be in its 80s, my
Mm,
BPM, and
mm,
went down to early 60s. So it went down by 20 in the first. I was continually wearing lip seal. That was another thing that I noticed. So I was probably dehydrated inside out, but I
mm,
stopped using these lip seal continuously
mm.
all the time.
And what about your friends? Like, did you ever struggle with your relationships? Because quite often they can go one way or the other, can't they?
Yeah. I didn't realize until after I stopped that I think they were more talking about doing things. Well, most of my when I talk about my friends, my school friends, who are my main friends, I guess, still live in Cambridge. I've moved to Sheffield now. So they would do things and purposely not invite me.
Mm,
And I didn't know that until after.
mm. Did
Yeah.
they
So,
tell you why they wouldn't invite
well, because I
you?
was a nightmare when I was drunk.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And not all the time, but often if there was a weekend away. But now one of my friends who I was really close with, she wants to spend more time with me since being sober. And she's, a lot of my friends are like an advocate for me being sober.
Mm.
They've all been really
Supportive.
really supportive. Yeah.
Did you find like after a while, people start asking you how you did it because there's genuine interest there, isn't there? When you know, if you was a nightmare
Mm,
and then you can do it, it
mm,
often raises a question in people. It's like, oh, well, if she can,
mm.
maybe I need to look at my
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, actually one of my friends knows you, Dave. She was at my 50th birthday at my house, and so she slept downstairs, and what book did she read? She started to read
My
Sober
book.
Diet. So no, it was your book wasn't out then, Dave. One for the Road wasn't out yet, and it's also available on Audible. We know that.
Oh, well, thanks for the plug.
It was Sober Diary she was reading, and she that was in July, and in October the 1st, she in that year she became sober.
Mm,
So yeah, there's that knock-on effect. My sister's read that book. She's not sober, but she's, people start toying with the idea, don't they? Like Alan's hadn't had a drink
yeah,
since January. So yeah.
yeah. Well, we become the example, don't we? You know,
Mm,
living, like that Be Sober event that I met you at, it was ironically the Sober Diaries written by Claire Pooley
mm,
and William Porter, who wrote Alcohol Explained, who was at the Be Sober event that I met you.
mm.
Those two people were at that event I went to um, when I was six
Yeah.
weeks sober. And they were there doing a talk and that. And I met them after. I didn't even know they were because I went into that world, you know.
Mm,
I met the Rock Sober boys, quite a few different people. And, that's why I came away inspired. Hearing Claire's story, hearing William's story, hearing the Rock Sober boys' story, and this
yeah.
is why community is so powerful. And when I met you at that Be Sober event, it was so funny, wasn't it? Because it was up in Clitheroe, and they said, "Oh, you've got your own marquee thing." And I
Yeah.
think I had like a really, really busy manic week that week or something. Something was going on, and I bowled up with some clothes, and that was it. And they showed me the marquee, and it was just an empty marquee. And I thought it might be like one of these teepees, glamping
Yeah.
things with a big double bed with side units and candles and a big TV on the wall. I
And a
slept on the
shower.
yeah, I slept on the bloody floor that night. I was
I know. I
freezing,
was so
absolutely.
cold. I just was not prepared. That was the first time I've ever camped.
Yeah,
I was just not prepared whatsoever. It was freezing, and but the days were really sunny, weren't they? But it
it was
was
really lovely,
really
and
nice weather.
I did. Was it the next night I did my talk? Because in the day we did
Yeah,
wood whittling and we did the um, swim in the river. It was a
yeah.
really lovely, lovely event, actually. I met some lovely people there. We had that game thing at the end and then the talk. And the interesting thing about that talk was that I put some photographs on a little memory stick.
Mm,
And then I thought, you know what? I want to put one more of when I was drinking on the beginning. So we worked that out. And I'm like William Porter, like get quite nervous talking in front of people. But I think there was about 50 women and
mm.
Adrian Arrow there
Yeah.
and William. And I got up and I looked round at the screen and there was a big enlarged picture of me with a pint in my hand. I
Mm.
got really upset.
You did. I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really affected how I carried on that talk then because I looked up at this person and I thought, you poor sod.
Mm,
Like, what have you put yourself through from that first can of Foster's up the circle with your
mm,
mates trying to fit in to there where I was isolated drinking liters of vodka and what. And it really hit me actually. Even this was last year, wasn't it? So
mm,
4.5 years sober or whatever it was. And it still is a stark reminder of my life then, of
mm.
what drinking took me to, the
Yeah.
extremes of what my life was. Um, and it kind of does me a favor sometimes. I mean, this weekend I'm going to Eastbourne to do the walk, the Seven Sisters. but I sit on the beach where I was that 4 nights of being homeless in Eastbourne. I sit in the pub that I drank in all day. I visit all the
Oh,
places,
do you? Yeah.
yeah, just to
Yeah.
stay connected to my story. And
Mm.
each time I go, I remind myself of how far I've come. And it's like,
Yeah.
right, now you're 5 years sober. Things are really good in your life now. But
Mm.
it's really important for me to remind myself so I can stay connected to people who are a week sober or they're thinking about stopping drinking. I can hook straight back to how I felt back then. And,
Yeah.
I look back and it's like, I was such a different person back then. It's such my famous word journey of
Mm.
self discovery. But you must find that after 3 years that, things have changed in your life and,
Yeah.
you know, like where
Yeah. It's
you are
just
now.
where I feel, I tell you what I've started to notice. I mean, this is probably, I don't know, not trivial, but something I've noticed recently is that TV bothers me quite a lot. I don't sit and watch TV like I used to.
Mm,
It kind of just bothers me. It has to be something really interesting for me to
yeah.
sit and watch it.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
used to watch loads of TV.
we probably, when we say watch it, we just used to zone out to it probably. But I'm the same as well. Like I will turn the TV off, the radio off, and I'll read something which I struggle with. But I'm doing a course at the moment, and I sat there for 2 hours this morning with my
Mm,
folder reading it, and I felt quite happy doing it.
yeah,
Where before it'd be I'll just chuck the telly on, background noise, and you do change in many areas, but the biggest thing for me is that I love education. I love furthering my education, and that might not be to do anything with it. It might just be to find out about maybe the Second World War or the
yeah,
first,
yeah.
something different,
Mm,
forensic science or something that I just love. Like I'm more inquisitive now, where
yeah,
before, and I think it's because my life was so small.
yeah.
All I've thought about was the next drink.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've definitely, yeah, everything was so small. Didn't seem, I don't know, like you say, you get stuck, you think you're supposed to be doing that. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
I thought I was supposed to be doing that. Just on that wheel of where's my next drink? Going to work, having a drink, going to work, having a drink, getting pissed at the weekend. And that's it.
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
It's no life really, is it?
No,
No.
no.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great, how good's your life right now? 3 years sober.
Oh God, 10, 100%. Yeah,
And
definitely. Definitely a 10. Yeah. Yeah, nothing,
fantastic.
everything's great.
And what would you say to people that are on the fence? They were where we were back then, where we might have
Mm,
read the odd quick lit or listened to a podcast and we're dabbling about thinking, I wonder what it's like. Maybe I could try not
mm,
drinking in the week. We all know that don't bloody work.
mm,
You know, Monday,
mm.
yeah, that's all right because you're hanging from the weekend. Tuesday, you're still hanging from the weekend. Wednesday, oh, I've done
Oh,
really good here. I've hadn't drank for 2 days. Maybe I can
yeah,
have one. Then you drink, and then Thursday, you go, oh, I've blown it already. Start again Monday,
I know.
isn't it? That,
When when you started to ask me that, Dave, I shut my eyes just for a second. I just thought, oh, the thought of it, really,
mm,
just
mm.
if to say to anyone on the fence or myself back then, I wish I obviously wish I tried to do it sooner, but I would say to trust yourself and take a leap of faith and go for it.
And find the right community as well,
Yeah.
because that sounds like it worked for you, but it worked for me. Is find the right community because there's so many different communities out there now.
Mm.
Find the right coach. That's another conversation I won't get into here, but
Why
I'm a,
not?
not really. I'll save that for another day. But
Okay.
there are good coaches, bad coaches. I think um, find the right community,
Yeah.
education, like learning about the science of addiction is really
Yeah.
important as well. You know, it's not just about relatability. Listen to some good podcasts. When I say education as well, there's some books out there now which, there's a dopamine nation and stolen focus as well. Like Johan Hari, he talks about our focus is terrible now. So that comes down to the boredom as well. When
Mm,
you stop drinking, we can say, well, there's nothing else to do. It's boring. That's
yeah.
why I always suggest doing a night class or take up something that you use your hands with. I know men to knit. They go scaffolders. I love a bit of knitting. That's the
Mm,
truth,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
jigsaw puzzles, or like expand yourself. It's like there's no reason to be bored these
No.
days.
I tell you what I did in the for the first, it was a 10-week course. I thought I needed to do, like you said, expand yourself. And I wouldn't have thought about doing this until I'd stopped drinking, really. It was written in the early days. It was probably I don't know, 3 or 4 months in. I went to do a meditation and introduction to meditation and Buddhism. It
Mm,
was every Thursday, I don't know, 7 till 9. So it took up that evening. So like you're not being bored or becoming
yeah,
bored.
yeah.
And yeah, I loved it. Yeah, it was really good.
Well, it's something to focus on,
Mm,
inspiring, and as you say, it's that slot, that our drinking slot that I say.
mm,
Like we work out when that is, when you would normally start drinking, and then do something different.
yeah.
Like occupy yourself, especially in the beginning, because that's not sustainable all the time.
Mm,
And eat earlier helps with the cravings and that. But
mm,
give yourself an opportunity of exploring a month without booze, making that commitment, and then at the end of it, you say, right, what am I going to do now? And then compare how you're feeling then to, how you feeling now after 3 years. You've just given it a 10,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
definitely. And
compared to then.
I think we forget how we used to feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think about how did I used to feel? I've kind of I've forgotten, but obviously I feel better now.
Yeah.
I've forgotten how I feel then.
I've
I know
said
it's
this
not.
before. When I was drinking, I love athletics, right? And I used to go to Crystal Palace and that, to
Mm,
the arena there. And I'd look at like Olympian or something. I think, oh God, I wonder what it'd be like to morph into their body now for 5 minutes to feel how great they would feel, right? And now I do it the other way around. It's like, I wonder what it'd feel like to climb back into my body
mm,
6 years ago when I wake up on a Monday morning. Obviously, I don't want to do it, but it's complete reversal now
yeah,
because I eat really well. Um, I don't sleep that great, but that's something I'm working on. But my life is so much better in so many areas. I look after myself.
yeah,
And I said earlier, I recorded another one earlier, that I feel better now. I'm 60 this year than I did when I was 30. And that's the truth.
yeah. But
You
you look
know,
great, Dave.
thank you. Thank you. I mean that. But I've changed my lifestyle in so many areas, but willingly as well. It's not
Mm,
just like, oh, I suppose I've got to do this. And they said that I've got to do that. My nutrition, I really concentrate on. I don't eat processed foods. I
yeah.
don't really drink fizzy drinks like, well, yeah, that's the other big thing. I don't drink caffeine anymore. That's 10 months now.
Oh, well
I've had
done.
caffeine.
I've
And
just
that's a
bought a
big,
coffee machine.
well, you can get decaf.
Yeah,
But
I have
no,
been drinking decaf today,
yeah,
actually. Yeah,
yeah.
I have been.
But do you know what? It's these changes you would never think about if you were drinking and like food choices, like late night takeaways or when you're feeling bone idle and you chuck a pizza in the oven and stuff like that. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you have more time on your hands, don't you now? And you invest in your well-being more now because you feel great. But
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
feeling rubbish, you almost throw the towel in and go, oh, well,
yeah. What's the point?
what's the point? It don't
Yeah,
matter. Does it? So
yeah.
there are so many benefits. But Barbara, it's
So
been a
many.
joy having you on. Congratulations on your 3 years plus 1 month.
Thank you, Dave.
What
Thank you.
does the
Thanks for having
future
me.
look? That's a pleasure. What does this year have in store for you? You got more events you're going to?
More events. Oh, I'm going to miss your party, aren't I?
Yeah,
In
you're doing
April.
something, aren't you?
Yeah, got a glitter box night in Camden. Dave, I've started a Facebook group for women of colour. Do you remember I spoke to you about it at the? Yeah,
It was
I
an
mean that was
interesting
last year.
conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've started. Well, it's the shell is there. It's ready. I haven't launched it yet. It's coming soon. So I'm doing that. Yeah, and I've qualified in coaching. So I am a coach.
Good girl.
Yeah.
I should be examining your work.
Please do. But yeah, I'm just enjoying being me and enjoying me. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm,
I do really enjoy it to the point where, on the day where I was 3 years sober, I was with my daughter. We went to a spa and she was having a shower and I thought I didn't want to see her to see me crying, but I just like really choked up. Bloody 3 years. I really could not believe it.
yeah,
And like you say, for me to think 3 years ago, get into my body 3 years ago from that day, just
yeah.
yeah. I'm
And
just
I think as well with it, this sobriety lark is because you have more time. And for me, it's like, well, bring it on, whatever it is. I'm so
mm,
much more laid back about life now.
mm.
I'm going out to Madrid in September to do a talk. I meet Susan from Holler Sober.
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
doing
yeah.
her event and that. And
Excellent.
I'm really looking forward to it. Although I'm terrible, like I get anxiety around public speaking, as you know, with the Be Sober event. But I think once I'm up there, I'm all right. But like life's great, I'm going to Rome with my girlfriend in July for celebrating my birthday and my big
Yeah.
60th. And that's the reason I say celebrate is because I think if I'd have carried on drinking, I wouldn't be here now.
Mm,
I pretty much know that because of
yeah,
how bad my health was at the time at 54. And,
yeah,
this is 6 years later of my
yeah.
drinking. And it's like, that's quite a scary thought for me. And for
Isn't
my,
it?
think about my son as well, like how his
Yeah.
life would be, because we're really close in that.
Mm.
And these are the big reasons, aren't they? When
Yeah,
you
they
stop
are.
drinking, like we
Yeah,
all say, oh,
definitely.
well, my sleep's better and that. But when you think about the loved ones around you and how it affect them, if
Yeah.
you take it to that
You
extreme,
weren't there.
you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
So,
Yeah, 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 100%.
so well, I'm sure at some point we'll cross paths
I'm sure we will.
again in a lake
Yeah.
somewhere.
I see you in Madrid. I've always wanted to go to Madrid. I haven't been to Madrid. We booked to go to Madrid just before the whole lockdown thing. We had to cancel it. So might see you there. But hola.
Hola!
Hola.
She's great, Susan. I love her. She's such a fireball, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's
yeah, she
a
is.
real advocate for sobriety, isn't
She
she?
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's
All
really
right,
good.
Barbara. Lovely
Yeah.
seeing you.
You
And
too.
thanks for sharing.
No
And I'll
worries.
see you soon.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Bye.